Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Shaw.
Mrs. Willbrand.
Coming at you one more time. This time we are going to put World War I to bed.
Let's do it.
It's about time. This baby's got to go. Anyway, all right, so again, Wilson is going to fight for peace here. The biggest thing to take away to remember is that Woodrow Wilson wanted to stay out of the war for as long as possible. He wanted to be kind of the arbiter of this peace conference. Yeah. You want to take it away? Or you want me to do it?
You do.
I can do it. All right. So this takes place in January 1919. Wilson had a bold plan. He was a bold man. For world peace, it was called his 14 points. One thing I should point out, remember in the last video, I just talked about how Germany signed an armistice. They did not surrender. Okay, so the first kind of mistake, they're going to make a bunch of mistakes here. The first mistake is that Germany wasn't included at the Paris Peace Conference.
They weren't invited.
They weren't even invited. What happened was they just decided, like, again, the big powers, U.S., Great Britain, and France are going to just basically determine what's going to happen to everybody and essentially the rest of the world, which is a crazy oversight here, again, especially since Germany did not actually surrender. They only signed an armistice. So that's the first one. Russia was also not involved.
After helping.
And so they helped for 3 years and were not
really
invited.
High casualties, if you remember from the chart on the very last slide. Lesson.
They basically, like I said, bore the brunt of the casualties on the Eastern Front, and they were not even invited to the Paris Peace Conference because they had already pulled out of the war. So as I mentioned, negotiations were dominated by the U.S., France, and Britain. Wilson, his goal is to restore long-term peace. Again, the biggest problem with that is that the other two countries there, France and Great Britain, wanted to make Germany
pay.
I fixed it magically. You're welcome.
Pay.
So again, they want Germany to pay. They're not really worried about long-term peace. They just fought a 5-year-long war with Germany.
They're broke.
And they spent all this money. Like they owe a bunch of money. They want Germany to pay. The problem is that Germany also owes a lot of money. Germany also fought a huge war. Super broke. And they are going to really struggle to meet the demands of France and Great Britain. All right, so let's get to the 14 points.
All right, so Wilson does come up with this plan for peace, and he calls it the 14 points. You do not need to write these 14 points. We're going to hit the highlights, though, and you might want to know some of the highlights. So public diplomatic negotiations and an end to secret treaties. So no more secrecy, no more little secret alliances. A freedom of navigation on the seas, so no more U-boats bombing people, right? Free trade among nations, dividing up Austria-Hungary, and we're going to see self-determination come out of this, which is a vocab term. So we'll see a whole bunch of little nations pop up out of this extra land after we redraw borders. And then the creation of the League of Nations, which we end up not even joining.
Also, I probably should have bolded the reduction of armaments. To deal with the military side. That's an oversight on my part. Again, you see Wilson trying to deal with all of these problems, and they're at least trying to deal with the main causes of the war. But because of what Great Britain and France wanted, it's just not happening. And
honestly, his plan is really good as far as creating peace in Europe and the rest of the world goes. But Great Britain and France are so angry with Germany that they can't see this for what it is and want retaliation in the form of financial payment.
So what happens in the actual treaty is they are going to establish Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They are going to change the boundaries of many, many nations, especially from Germany and, again, from the Central Powers, from the losers. They're going to basically take land away. Well, actually, not Italy. Italy, remember, switched sides. So they actually gained a little bit of land, but Italy was mad because they didn't gain very much land, even though they had fought against Germany.
But we're on the winning side. Yeah, at the end.
Yeah. So... So that's the thing. Like again, they're gonna take land away from Germany. They're going to break up the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They're going to break up the Ottoman Empire. All of these things are just going to, and that gets us into the next thing. They gave areas of the Ottoman Empire as colonies to France and Great Britain. Again, remember, one of the main causes of the war was imperialism, and so we're not really fixing that problem. And the last thing, again, and this is going to be the thing that really is just going to just put a nail in this thing's coffin, is Germany has to pay $33 billion in reparations. Reparations are war damages, and they have to pay money to the Allies.
They don't have any money.
So they're going to print money. They're going to just print extra money now to try to pay these back, and the German
won't cause any problems at all.
Basically, the German dollar, it's called the mark, becomes absolutely worthless, and so worthless, in fact, that they're going to give it to kids, like big stacks of it, like thousands and thousands of dollars, to kids to play with because you can't buy anything with it anymore.
I have some at home.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'll bring it in.
That's so interesting.
I'll bring it in.
Are you?
So my
German?
My grandmother was born in Germany.
I'm joking. That was a joke.
And we'll talk more about her during World War II.
Fun. I look forward to that.
She was born during World War II, so we'll talk about her then.
Okay. And then the League of Nations was also established. It was an international peacekeeping organization designed to resolve conflicts before they became violent. And so the elephant in the room here is that we call this war World War I. Huh.
What will happen next?
So if the League of Nations was successful, it would have just been called the Great War. We would never have had a World War II, but we know that it is not successful, and we do have a World War II on the horizon.
Yep. All right, so obviously the treaty is going to have a whole lot of weaknesses. The treatment of Germany does weaken the ability for long-lasting peace because the only thing it does is crush the German spirit and anger them. The war guilt clause, which requires Germany to admit sole responsibility for the war,
I forgot about that,
is the part that crushes their spirits. Russia was excluded from the conference, as we talked about, which creates tension with Russia. They got their feelings really, really hurt. And then the opposition in the U.S. Many of U.S. citizens oppose the new boundaries and the League of Nations. Senators fear that Congress's power to declare war is going to be subverted by the League, that now we'll have to go through this new union, this new group of countries before we ourselves can declare war on anyone. And we're not really willing to give up that power in Congress. We want the power to protect ourselves if necessary and not go through someone else. And then the U.S. does not end up signing the Treaty of Versailles. They sign a separate treaty with Germany in 1921. It doesn't really matter, though, because, remember, this is World War I.
Well, just remember that the Senate, again, you guys probably haven't learned it very much, but like the Senate has the power of treaty ratification, and the senators were really worried. They were worried about a number of things. They didn't like what was in there, specifically about the League of Nations, as Ms. Willbrand said. Like they were worried that now U.S. soldiers could be sent to other countries without their approval, which is ironically going to be happening a lot anyway.
Yeah.
And they didn't get mad. Well, they got
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, spoiler alert. Again, the War Guild Clause, though, is really the biggest weakness here. I mean, we talked about the main causes. We talked about all of the things. Again, all of these countries were building their military, creating alliances. They were establishing colonies. They were very prideful in their country. So to give Germany the sole responsibility is just really irresponsible. Again, but I mean, I wasn't there. It wasn't like I can't judge them really for that.
And Germany argues like, we didn't even start it. Austria started it. They declared war first, and then Russia, and then us. Like, why are we in trouble?
Like they're basically being punished now for being the most powerful, having the most powerful military.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
So we'll talk more about all that going into World War II as well. When we start talking about the causes of World War II, we'll come back to all this.
Sounds great, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye.